It's time to go back to the beginning and rewatch Star Trek The Next Generation. Had about 7 hours sleep in these last 2 days, and that doesn't include all the tossing and turning and screaming and voices. I mustn't forget about the voices. Hello again, my viewers, if you really exist. Apparently there are at least 7 of you. That's a suspicious number. If you didn't see the last video, I watched Season 3, Episode 16, called The Offspring. That video got 5 likes, which I was actually really pleased about. I mean, 4 of them may have been me, but that means there's at least one of you out there who likes this. That's proof. Fact. Backed up by statistics. But now it's time to go back to the very beginning. The pilot is actually 2 episodes, and it's called Encounter at Farpoint Station. I remember this episode quite well, being the first. I remember Q, the trial, and those jellyfish alien things that were the station. Spoilers. So as this is the first official video in the series, I thought I'd take a moment to describe what I want this to be like and some general things to expect from future episodes. Most of the videos will be like this, where I have a funny little intro. Then I'll talk about which episode I'm watching, have some thoughts on what I remembered about it. Then I'll watch the episode, obviously, so I'll give my updated thoughts. Afterwards, I want to do a thing where I look at the IMDb page. I need to pee, that's why. Afterwards, I want to do a thing where I look at the IMDb page and read up some information about the episode, maybe some of the actors who are in it, interesting information about that particular episode, maybe even some goofs too. One important thing is that although I'll obviously be watching the episodes and there'll be some audio and sound from the actual episode, I want to make it clear so people won't be disappointed that these videos won't just be, the whole episode or even large parts of the episode playing with just my face in the corner like this. I'll need to include some imagery, maybe even screenshots of the episode spliced in with footage, but just to be clear, this won't be just the episode playing with me in the corner here. I want to make these videos interesting and curated and personable, and share my thoughts and commentary on what I'm watching, as opposed to just showing what I'm watching. I don't want this to be a video where the episode is playing and I'm just sitting in the corner not saying anything.
Of cascade failure. It would require initialization of the base matrix without wiping out the higher functions. I agree.
It's a quick wardrobe change. I actually made something as well as Star Trek. I like to make spreadsheets in Excel, and I tried to tabulate, but I don't think I've ever used that word before. I calculated how many episodes there were in every season. So, assuming I edit and watch 1 episode a week, it would end up taking me just over 14 years to do this whole thing. And if I include the movies, it's just over 14 and a half years. I could shave off some time by not rewatching the new Star Trek movies. But if I'm going to do it, I may as well do it. What's 14 years here and there, you know? I actually have never seen the animated series, and I have a confession to make. I've never seen any of the original Star Trek movies. Which is crazy, I know. It's extra crazy when you realise that I made the Picard movie trailer which featured clips from those movies. But yeah, I managed to make that and clip it together without watching too much of the actual movie. Unfortunately, I do know the spoilers from the movie, but I'd still be really interested to watch them. But first things first, it's time to go back and watch the first episode of Next Generation. You can see all the little people walking around in there. I'm wondering if that was in the original, or if that's like a remastered thing. It's a nice touch, either way. There she is. This is an iconic shot right here. Oh, if Patrick Stewart knew now what this whole thing was going to become. Oh, Troy's up to her old tricks already. Good job, Troy. That's psychic power in use. This is a great job of representing an alien without needing special effects.
Where humans learn to control their military with drugs.
That's a backstory I'd like to go into more, find out more about.
I'm a Klingon, sir. For me to seek escape when my captain goes into battle.
You are a Starfleet officer, Lieutenant.
Not the last time they'll have that discussion. So apparently this is what the mid-21st century is going to look like.
The prisoners will not be.
I'm ready for it.
I recognize this court system as the one that agreed with that line from Shakespeare. Kill all the lawyers.
Shakespeare quote already. Patrick Stewart must have liked that Shakespeare reference. What is that shot? It looks like it's been recorded from another screen. Oh, weird.
Dropped me off at Farpoint Station.
That's a cool miniature.
Of the new USS Enterprise.
Mother! It's Commander Riker.
Hello, Wes.
There he is.
Yes, sir.
With a gnarly sweater, of course. Seeing as I have so many episodes to get through, I'm actually considering buying a whole assortment of sweaters. Bad good sweaters. And just wearing them. Maybe have a collection as big as Wesley's one day.
Wes?
Sir?
See you on board.
It's our first creepy Riker smile.
Make it so.
It's the first Make It So, and our first meeting between the two of them.
Riker, WT reporting as
I was watching TNG. The ship has some pretty good camera angles on their CCTV. I seem to remember a different opening scene between Data and Riker. I used to think Geordi was the coolest character when I was younger. Just the image of that thing over his eyes was just so different to me when I was younger. Then rewatching it again when I was older, he just seemed kind of lame to me.
Full of hot air.
Well, I'll probably explain it in a later episode with more Geordi in it. Riker just has such a creepiness to him. First look at the holodeck. This is where I remember them meeting for the first time. I was a bit weirded out by Data here. He seems to be not quite acting as his character as he would become. There are some shots where he actually reminds me more of Lore. It's just interesting that in this first episode he actually shows more outward emotion than he would in the later episodes.
children are not allowed on the bridge.
Permission to report to the captain.
Oh, the music is so good. Still, this scene is so great.
View screen control and intercom. So here we have
On here, the backup con and ops panels, plus shield and armament controls,
the forward view screen is controlled from the ops position there.
which uses high-resolution multispectral imaging
How
sensors.
the hell do you know that, boy?
Prove it alert, Captain.
Wesley,
I'm sorry.
Wes, you shouldn't have touched
Get
it.
off the bridge, both of you.
That's a great scene.
As my son tried to tell you.
Then they just reverse back into the elevator, like a dog and her puppy.
No, not the miniature.
There could exist creatures able to convert energy into matter.
This is the jellyfish alien.
Patterns of
I love the idea of that, just a giant space jellyfish. This is a great visual image, just to end the episode on. It's almost like the creation of David. It's strangely sweet too. And the music, of course, is just great.
So that was Encounter at Farpoint Station. Before this episode, I was thinking if I were to try and get someone to watch one episode of Next Generation to get them into it, it wouldn't be this one. And after watching it again, I still have that same feeling. I know it was 2 episodes rolled into one, but it did feel a bit like a slog at times, even coming from someone who loves Next Generation. I liked the ideas that they explored and the philosophy that they went into. That was all great. And of course the moment with Wesley and Picard, but there was just some strangeness looking back to it and some weird acting. I mean, mostly from Riker. There's a part where Worf gets ordered to go down to the engine room. We see a cut to the engine room and Worf going down the elevator and kind of walking across the room, and in the next scene he's back on the bridge.
inform engine room to prepare for maximum acceleration.
Aye, sir. Engine room ready, sir.
And there was quite a lot of that unnecessarily long, lingering shots. And as they were still getting into their roles and they didn't really know what their characters were, they definitely seemed less comfortable than they are in later series. Which, you know, is completely understandable. But you know, it's the first episode, you can't really knock it too much because it began what we now know is the best show ever. So now for the first time I'm going to do the feature I've been planning where I go onto the IMDB page. So here it got 7 out of 10 on average from user ratings, which I think is fair enough. So the Did You Know section is always something I'm really interested in checking out. So we've got trivia here. Will Wheaton noted that during filming, most of the cast didn't believe the series would last more than a year. Patrick Stewart even admitted he didn't bother to unpack his suitcase. At Farpoint, Dr. Crusher decides to purchase a bolt of fabric, asks the Bandy to charge her account, making this one of the very rare references to money being used in the Federation. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. Maybe they didn't think about that when they were making it. Gene Roddenberry's original scripts did not include any scenes set in the Enterprise's engine room. When he learned that Paramount was therefore refusing to pay to build an engine room set, he revised the scripts to include the engine room. Okay, that makes some sense. I don't know why he wanted it built if he wasn't gonna film any scenes in there. In the original premiere script, Geordi was going to be gay. Instead, they made him blind. There is a lot of trivia on here. Veteran British actor Patrick Stewart was far from the producer's first choice for the role of Jean-Luc Picard. Despite having a prestigious career with the Royal Shakespeare Company, Stewart was very much a stage actor. Producers thinking that the then 46-year-old was far too old and too bold for the role. I think it would be a real shame if he was to be passed up from that role because of his age or his lack of hair. I mean, the hair is irrelevant, I feel like, and I think there should be less reservations about having older actors, because I think if this was remade now, like a lot of things, they would just get a young actor in there with nice hair, and it would be fine. But it would be a real shame if we missed out on Patrick Stewart just because of that. One of the shelves from the Bandy Marketplace appears in the next episode in Deanna Troy's quarters. Yeah, I think some of these trivia facts are more important than others. I'll just say that. In the script, the frozen lieutenant's name was Graham. When Riker takes a bite out of an apple and remarks it's delicious, he happens to be taking a bite out of a delicious type apple. I think we've reached the literal bottom of the barrel of trivia. So now for the goofs, the mistakes, the continuity errors. It is claimed that Data has not been programmed to use contractions, yet he says the word can't while the Q transport is chasing them. He in fact uses contractions at least 32 times. Okay, yeah, that must be hard to remember when you're writing. As much as I like this episode and it did start off Next Generation, I'm kind of glad to have gotten it out of the way. This one's twice as long as a normal episode. I've been tired and I've been not feeling very well, but I'm really looking forward to the next episode, which is where it starts to hit its stride. But a good thing is, this means that 2 episodes have been done, and that's 3 in total, and that's 175 episodes to go. I'm slowly chipping away. Just be a decade and a half left. I hope you'll join me for at least some of that time. But for me, time means nothing. Forgot my phone.